Yo, what's up, East Coast FGC? It's Magi, and I'm joined here with YungWaff. Recently, y'all have been keeping up with Melee. You might have saw that aMSa just won Big House 10, the first time Yoshi's has ever gotten close to like winning a major like at that size. It was the most stacked tournament of the year. It was crazy. And today we're just gonna talk about like the state of mid tiers in the game. You know, who has potential, who like is Yoshi like kind of the exception to the rule, like what's up with mid tiers in the Melee scene. So I guess, do you have any opening thoughts on the topic, Brandon?
I mean, congrats to aMSa first
Yeah,
off.
for sure.
Just good to see. I mean, aMSa just watching him for years and years, just like try to pull it off. Constant fifth place,
Yeah,
constant fifth
for real.
place, and then to finally just like get over the hump. It's truly impressive, and to do it through winners makes you wonder about like the state of the game, and as far as just like, do you really need characters like Fox, Marth, Puff to win majors?
Right.
It challenges the mid-tier narrative a lot, and shouts to aMSa for just putting in the work to do that. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Just honestly, this is where I always feel like a little bit not, I don't know if misinformed is the right word, but like I feel like I'm not good enough at the game yet to be able to determine like, oh, like this makes sense of this is exactly why Yoshi had the exact capabilities to win a major or whatever. I feel like there's a lot in the game that I still don't understand yet. Just by eyeballing it, based on what I know about Yoshi, Yoshi was probably just always like kind of underrated. I don't think it was necessarily like Yoshi is like Ganondorf, where like he's like super limited. Like obviously Yoshi is limited. I think he was mostly like not getting results for a long time just because like you just have to be so good with Yoshi. I feel like most of the mid tiers, like their place on the tier list is where they are because like even if you do like go super ham, like you still can't do like that much. Like for example, Samus, like I'm recently studying like Samus versus Falco or whatever. A lot of the issues with Samus is that her moves suck. Like that's like the issue with her like entire kit. Whereas Yoshi, I feel like a lot of his moves do work. It's just that like we don't even understand how to like quite utilize it all. And I think like for how long like tier lists have been made, like whenever we make tier lists, it's usually like with results or like with a couple people who like main those characters, right? So like it's kind of hard to have like an accurate tier list in general, which is why I don't really like tier lists. But I think Yoshi, I guess to start off the conversation, I think Yoshi is just not necessarily a mid tier. He's probably closer to like the high tier, like closer to where Peach is and I think that's why I'm hesitant to say like, yo, aMSa just won a major. That means like Mewtwo is up next or like Game and Watch. It's like I don't necessarily think that those characters are solved or that there isn't potential for them to be better. That's at least where I'm at right now. I don't know if you have like anything to say in response.
well, first off, I think you are good enough at the game. I
Oh,
think you
thank you.
just don't play those characters. So,
Right.
but that's like part of why I think that character is good. So I don't think Yoshi is like necessarily like a mid tier, like you said, but I
Mhm.
also think a lot of why mid tiers like can succeed is like, well, one, you're still playing another person, right?
Right. Right.
So the human element will always exist. So even though it's unlikely that a Bowser would win anything, there
Mm,
will be people that will lose to Bowser just off of numbers, right? Does that mean I think Bowser's gonna win anything? No,
hell
but my
no.
point is that people run into uncommon situations and they don't really challenge them because they're uncommon, right? So they write those characters off. Yoshi being one of them. And I think what's cool about aMSa winning is I think now, I mean, this was like this before, but I think aMSa winning just put it out there for people to actually pay attention.
Yeah.
To win a major, you have to think about that matchup. You can't
Yes.
just
Yes.
think about Fox, Falco, Marth, Puff, Sheik. Like that's what everyone preps for. Yo, I gotta prepare for Hungry Box. I gotta prepare for Zane. aMSa's right there, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's a really
gonna
good point.
have to learn Yoshi. And now that aMSa winning, it's a blessing that he's able to win just because, I'm just glad he finally got over that hump despite dealing with all the mid-tier challenges.
Right.
But now I'm very curious to see how it plays out because like
Mm.
one or two things are gonna happen. Either one, aMSa's just gonna like just shatter that narrative and make us question Yoshi as a character. Which I mean, he's already done that, but I
Right.
think it's just gonna be like even more
Continue.
so.
Yeah.
Or people are really gonna start honing in on that matchup,
Yeah.
that Yoshi matchup. it'll be more common to prepare for Yoshi for tournaments,
Yeah.
not just because they lost to aMSa prior. It'll be just like just
That's
how,
how it is.
yeah, just how fighting Falcon or fighting, Sheik is
Right.
if aMSa were to keep winning, I think it would force that. As far as mid tiers, like you said, I don't know if the rest of them will like rise, on in
Mhm.
the ranks, but I think people who play top tiers in general tend to undervalue these characters.
Yeah.
Not to say that they aren't worse, but I think the fact that we have so many players that are so good at the game who don't, like, and myself too, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't understand Yoshi, we don't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
Pikachu, we don't
Right.
understand Doc, Samus, Luigi. Like, it tells you a lot that, like, not just the characters have a lot to develop, but like the community revolving against those characters too
Thank
have
you.
a lot to grow. So I think aMSa winning was good for that because it forces people to think about the character.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I don't know if that answered anything, but I guess
No.
that's
It,
just
that
how I
makes.
feel
Yeah.
about mid tiers or Yoshi in particular.
Right.
It comes down to people, someone or a group developing a character and the culture behind it. Or are people gonna start developing a real game plan around Yoshi? Is aMSa just gonna like dominate? One thing I will give aMSa that most mid tier players just don't do, aMSa always changes and adapts, and that is insanely hard with the character that is not like Fox, Falco. The characters like Yoshi, when you know what they're trying to do, is really good. It's really easy to abuse it.
I think that makes everything you said makes a lot of sense, especially in regards to like a lot of people don't prep for mid tiers because they're like, yo, I just gotta worry about Sheik and Fox and blah blah blah, and then I won't have to worry about those other characters because I'll just beat them by being a better character. But that's not how that really works. Sometimes like you can just like outmuscle someone, but like if someone knows what they're doing with Yoshi, like it's not that like you're playing against a mid tier, you're playing against Yoshi. You need to actually know what that character does in order to really be like a good player. And so, like you said, like there are people who like lose to Yoshi, learn how to play the matchup, and then they learn to beat Yoshis. And some mid tier mains don't know what to do when the other people don't like know the matchup because like they're so used to playing against people who just like don't know what the they're doing, and they just know how to beat people who don't know what they're doing. But the X factor with aMSa, like you said, and just like this is just how it is in general. When someone knows the matchup and you know that what to do against someone who knows the matchup, now you're just playing like the human element game. Like that now we're actually just fucking playing the game. And I think that's what's interesting. I think that's kind of what separates the mid tiers from like the higher tier characters. It's how much does it matter that you like does the mid tier main like have something that they can do to beat someone who's doing the proper strategy. Like there are some characters who just get completely like even if both people know how to play the matchup, the game plan against the mid tier is just too strong. That there's like actually not much that the mid tier like the human element gets taken out or whatever. Whereas with Yoshi, I'm pretty sure Yoshi is good enough as well as aMSa to like even if the other person knows exactly what to do against Yoshi, aMSa will still like make it like it's not like a matter of like Yoshi being a mid tier anymore. It's just like all right, you're playing against aMSa. We're gonna be playing mix ups like what you got. And I think that's where I don't have that knowledge. I honestly don't 100% know. It seems like Yoshi has enough tools to be able to like account for someone knowing the matchup, like trying to really exploit Yoshi. Yeah, I mean honestly, it's just hard to tell, but I definitely super agree that like you said too, we just don't know exactly where it's gonna go from here because we definitely are gonna enter the era where like I don't know if like all of the like the Game and Watch mains are gonna rise up, but Yoshi players are definitely gonna like start fucking showing up and shit. And I think there's going to be like, more people are going to be studying Yoshi, more people are going to be playing Yoshi, and then we'll really see where Yoshi sits on the tier list. Like, is Yoshi more like, a Samus? Is Yoshi more like Peach? Is Yoshi like actually like low key Sheik? Like, we don't 100% know. Pretty sure based on what I know that he's probably more like a Peach player. That is kind of where the conversation lies, I think, is just where does it go from here? Does Yoshi get solved? Is Yoshi good enough that he can't be solved at all? Like, like Bowser, like if someone 100% knows the Bowser matchup, like I'm pretty sure like the human element won't really come into play if they just perfectly exploit Bowser like 100%. Whereas with Yoshi, it's like you can't really like 100% exploit Yoshi. I think he's good enough. So I guess that's what I think my final say is I'm pretty sure Yoshi is good enough. The human element will always give him like a chance to win. Like it'll just be hard. Whereas like characters like the other mid tiers, like I think Pikachu's also kind of in a weird similar spot. Like because like Swift, OKP, and all those guys, like they're like really optimizing the character. Like of course, Axe is always like has been proving his shit too. And so I think like Yoshi and Pikachu are like probably like, those are the mid tiers I think to like look out for. Where like the human element, there's still strategy there that will like they can overcome anti Pikachu or anti Yoshi strategy.
Basically what you're saying, I just think Yoshi has like enough tools to where it's like you could argue, is Yoshi even a mid tier? I don't think he has all the answers, but he has a lot. And I
Mm.
think just the feel of fighting Yoshi is very like uncommon. Like it just doesn't
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
weird. Like you can't like grab like I say well you can with Sheik, but like say Marth and Spaceys or whatever. A lot of people base their game off grab, and like
Hmm.
that's a character you can't really grab. You have to like you have to learn how to play the game differently. And I think
Hmm.
Yoshi challenges that. Basically, how I see aMSa is like if he were the main Fox, he'd be hitting perfect ledge dashes like
Uh,
every time. You know, like
he is
perfect
so
shine at
good
his
with this character.
shields.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his tech is so crazy, which is like not talked about, like how he uses armor, how he parries.
Mm.
I think aMSa just on top of using the character as correctly as possible, just has good fundamental habits
Mm.
that like is the reason why he's like so much better than every other
Right.
Yoshi. And that's no knock to all the other Yoshi. Like they're still good, but warming up versus Yoshi, I don't think will really help you versus
Yeah,
aMSa.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
just
like
because it's not the character you're having a hard time with. It's him.
right.
It's like yeah, it's aMSa that's the issue when
It's like
fighting against him.
it's like warming up against like your local like basketball player when you have to play against LeBron James. It's
That's
like
what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like
yeah. It's
yeah,
like good luck. I mean, you could try for sure.
I guess what's more curious to me is how are people going to develop a game plan around aMSa, especially now with all the reference of seeing like what he can do to
Mm.
win, and will there be a Yoshi that plays similarly? Because that'll really determine a lot. I
Mm.
think this is I think it's a good day for mid tiers too, like not just Yoshi, but like I'd say for like Doc, Luigi, Samus, Game and Watch, DK, Luigi, like all these characters, they're all like solid, like in the
Mm.
sense of like you can just lose to like
Right.
these, like I think that all those characters you can be top 100 in melee with. Now to win a major is totally different. I
Right.
think a lot of these characters, hear me out, y'all, before y'all lose y'all's mind.
Mm.
I think that they can win majors, but it has to be so specific. It has to be a very unique situation.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
agree.
I think Big House was that. Despite
Yeah.
being the most stacked tournament, it was a unique situation. And like that's why I'm so curious what happens moving forward. Cause like aMSa playing Plup is gonna matter. aMSa playing
Mm.
Cody is gonna matter. These are people he didn't have to play against. And he's beaten these people before. I'm not saying that
Right.
he
Right.
can't beat them, but I'm more so just saying like, how are you gonna consistently do that
Right.
when people are like gunning for aMSa now? It's not just like, okay, let me prepare first H box and aMSa's in the way. It's more like I think when people look at aMSa as the final boss, it's just gonna I think it's gonna be good for the game because it's gonna force both parties to just like
Yeah, it's gonna get
aMSa, Yoshi
interesting.
players, and everybody around them to just play better.
Right.
Everybody's gonna have to start using their brains for real. I will
Mm.
say this for all you high tier players, top tier mains, if this isn't a sign that you need to start fighting against your local Yoshi player, I know a lot of people see Yoshi on unranked, quit out immediately. I think
You better
that
start
yeah,
grinding.
you're hurting yourself. And I think those people who don't play those type of characters, you hurt yourself. It opens the playing field to where now the game's just gonna get harder. And like when we mean harder, because people always like the game gets harder because everyone grinds and everyone, enter stuff, which is true. But also because of that, people are getting better with different characters. It's getting to a point now where it's like almost on some ultimate type of shit. Like I hope people use this as like a good opportunity to just like congratulate aMSa on his
Mm.
victory and to just try to understand the character in the situation,
Right.
like commentating Pikachu match like Axe and aMSa, because they're two players that are on stream a lot. And like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's a wake-up call for everyone, and
Hmm.
what's yet to come.
I think Melee is such a game where there's just so much shit that you can do like with tech skill and like slow practice. You can really outmuscle a lot of people like in general. And so
Right.
I think Melee has always kind of been this game that's like tech skill first, matchup knowledge second. And I feel like mid tiers always kind of exemplify that, because mid-tier characters tend to be the first time that someone's like, oh shit, like I have really good tech skill, but I actually just have zero idea what this guy is doing, and I can't just press buttons when I'm nearby him. It would be really sick, and especially if the culture does change and we do see a lot of people like start really learning matchups and like start keeping all these things, like the skill of everyone's like general like knowledge of the game and everything will like get so high up.
Now this is like acknowledge that like Yoshi is good practice. I guess I could do the outro, but yeah,
If you guys like this discussion, please like the video, hit the notification bell. If you're a Yoshi player, leave us a comment. Mid tiers, leave us a comment. Tell us how you feel. Top tiers too, like if you main Fox Falco and you fight against these characters, like how do you feel? What do you experience? But again, you guys like and subscribe. Much love, and you guys have a good day.
Bye bye.
Peace.